Before delving into the depths of Buddhist cosmology, it's important to make a crucial observation. If the idea of the existence of other, more subtle dimensions of being and the continuation of life after physical death seems unacceptable to you, further consideration of this topic may not bring the desired result. However, if you hold agnostic views, familiarizing yourself with this system may be helpful in broadening your horizons and understanding different worldviews. The key point to grasp is the absence in Buddhism of a dualistic concept, where a benevolent God-creator and an evil devil are opposed. Moreover, the difficulties and suffering that a person encounters are not the result of malicious interference by some external force. They arise from one's own mind, behavior, and the complex web of cause and effect that shapes their reality. Similarly, the rewards that a person receives in life are not the result of someone's benevolent encouragement or compliance with certain established rules. They are a natural consequence of the functioning of the mind and the fruits of the very cause and effect relationships that one creates through their actions and thoughts. This is precisely why Buddhism does not encounter those seemingly unsolvable questions that often baffle adherents of other worldviews. From the perspective of Buddhist philosophy, the answers to these questions lie on the surface and stem from an understanding of the structure of the world and the principles of karma. For example, the question of why there is suffering, war, famine, and the death of innocent children in a world created by a benevolent God does not present a difficulty for a Buddhist, since the causes of these phenomena are seen in the action of universal laws of cause and effect, and not in divine will. Mortality among children is due to a complex of factors, including unsanitary conditions, genetic predisposition, and other causes explicable from the perspective of modern medicine. The appearance of these children in human form is explained by their individual karma and the correspondence of their mind and body. Armed conflicts continue to shake the world because people, driven by various motives, take up arms and exterminate each other. The causes of these conflicts lie in social norms, economic problems, imperfections in political systems, and a lack of compassion. Famine in the modern world is often an artificially created phenomenon, provoked by the actions of specific people. Life is filled with suffering because in the samsaric cycle we appear in the world of humans, which is far from perfect and corresponds to the state of our minds. Answering the question of why it is not possible to achieve virtue from a Buddhist perspective, it should be noted that constant practice and diligence are necessary, like training muscles or mastering a new skill. Buddhism does not oblige one to be virtuous, but points out that virtuous behavior brings more favorable results, while evil can lead to terrible consequences. Being kind is beneficial and reasonable. There are no strict restrictions in Buddhism, but every action has its consequences, both short-term and long-term. Thus, many complex questions in Buddhism have simple and logical answers. However, what about the Creator, the one who conceived and brought our universe into being, endowing it with precisely these characteristics? Of course, there are adherents of the view that the universe is accidental, arguing that the very emergence of life is no more than a happy coincidence. But every attentive observer cannot help but marvel at the filigree complexity and astonishing harmony that permeates all that exists, from microscopic organisms to immense galaxies. The slightest change in fundamental parameters would lead to the impossibility of the existence of all this magnificence. Often, the components of living beings, objects, and phenomena do not arise sequentially, but function only with simultaneous appearance, conditioned by a single purpose. Nevertheless, for Buddhist philosophy, the question of the purposeful or accidental origin of the world is not of primary importance. Regardless of beliefs, the fact that the world exists in its current form remains undeniable. In Buddhist cosmology, our universe undergoes cycles of compression and expansion, separated by incomprehensibly vast time intervals. After a period of contraction, it is reborn and begins its evolutionary path anew. It is noteworthy that modern astronomy is increasingly approaching the recognition of such cyclicality. From the Big Bang theory to hypotheses about the existence of a preceding universe, the current cosmological model suggests that our universe will also complete its existence with compression, followed by a new Big Bang. In Buddhist cosmology, as one cosmic cycle draws to a close, it is believed that all sentient beings must attain a sufficiently high level of spiritual development to reside in the higher realms of existence, in the worlds of subtle forms, thus avoiding destruction during the universe's reset. Those who fail to achieve this goal, alas, will not escape a sad fate. However, there is no need to worry excessively, as there is plenty of time for spiritual improvement. The current cycle of the universe's existence, according to available information, began relatively recently. At the very beginning of a new cosmic period, at the moment of its unfolding, all beings who attained enlightenment in the previous cycle reside in the highest worlds, in the so-called world of radiant Brahmas. In Buddhism, Brahmas are the deities of the highest worlds. When the first being from the world of radiant Brahmas dies, it is reborn in a completely empty, pristine universe where there is no one else. Possessing incredible power and majesty, this being, arising in solitude, remembers neither its past nor the previous cycle of creation. And here, according to the sutras, a very curious moment occurs. This first being of the new universe, endowed with extraordinary strength and beauty, begins to ponder how good it would be if there were other entities in this world. And soon, as if in response to its thoughts, other deities begin to descend from the world of radiant Brahmas. As their time in the higher realms has come to an end, and it is time to populate the new universe, these deities are also born into the new world. Then the first Mahabrahma, overcome with pride, begins to consider himself the creator of these beings, because he wished for their appearance, and they arose. The newly born creations naturally begin to revere the first being as the creator. And this is quite understandable. The firstborn possesses the greatest power, his life seems endless, and his possibilities are limitless. However, despite this, he is not the creator of either the beings themselves or the cyclical nature of the universe. The Buddha taught that some ascetics and hermits who have devoted themselves to spiritual practices and a righteous life can remember their past lives in the world of Brahma. On this basis, they assert that Brahma is the creator god who created them, and subsequently cast them down to earth. But even such knowledge, obtained through personal experience and revelation, remains incomplete and limited. Given the scale of the universe and its cyclical nature, any knowledge is essentially relative and has its limits. Even if one reaches the top and meets the first being to appear in this universe, the most powerful and beautiful, capable of creation, this will not mean discovering the beginning of beginnings, the original source. This is just one turn of an endless cycle. If not Mahabrahma, not the first to appear in this world, is the creator of the cyclical nature itself, the basic laws, and the beings inhabiting the universe. Then who is? The Buddha asserted that it is impossible to comprehend or determine the root cause of the wheel of rebirth in which beings revolve. One cannot find the point where this wheel originates. Any speculative theories about the origin and boundaries of the universe were not approved by the Buddha, as he believed that they would not bring any benefit on the path to enlightenment. Just as a microscopic organism living on a human hand is unable to comprehend either the motives or the activities of its carrier, due to the colossal difference in scale and levels of perception, so too are human attempts to create speculative theories about the root cause of all things, about its true creator, doomed to failure. These fruitless reflections only cloud the mind, hinder development, and do not lead to true knowledge. As for the figure of the devil, in the Buddhist tradition there is a character named Mara, in many ways similar to him in his functions and attributes. It is noteworthy that in Slavic paganism, Mara, also known as Maria, is the goddess of death, winter and night, and it is her effigy, Marena, that is burned during the celebration of Maslenitsa. In Buddhist texts, sutras, Mara appears as an evil being who repeatedly tried to tempt the Buddha himself after his enlightenment. Mara urged the Buddha to accept parinirvana, that is, to voluntarily depart from life, as is available to the enlightened, so that he would not share his teachings with others. However, the Buddha, moved by compassion for all living beings, rejected this offer. Mara also tried to intimidate the Buddha, to instill in him false ideas and concepts. There are entire cycles of sutras that describe Mara's attempts to tempt or intimidate monks and nuns. Mara appears as one of the most significant devas, which can be interpreted as a deity. However, equating devas with gods or angels can create confusion in Western understanding, since in Buddhism, devas are a vast category of beings who surpass humans in strength, longevity, and level of satisfaction. These beings dwell in Deva Lokas, a type of celestial realm, and don't necessarily possess the attributes of governance or other characteristics usually associated with gods. It's important to note that devas are mortal, albeit extraordinarily long-lived, and are individual entities, much like humans, with their own inner worlds and life paths. Therefore, to avoid distorting the meaning, the term deva remains untranslated, with its literal meaning from Sanskrit being shining one. Mara holds a high position and governs certain realms, surpassing human existence. He is also known as the highest of those who exercise dominion, the evil Mara, which begs the question, how can an evil being reside in auspicious heavenly realms and wield such power? The answer lies in karma. The accumulation of positive karma leads to rebirth in higher realms and in a more perfected body. However, nothing is permanent, and everything is subject to change. Over time, Mara, likely due to his motives, began to cause harm to others. Similar instances can be observed among humans, especially among rulers who, starting with good intentions, eventually transform into dictators capable of cruel acts, all while finding justifications for their actions. Mara, the personification of evil and temptation, possesses incredible power and a virtually infinite lifespan. Yet even his existence is not eternal. It's difficult to imagine what fate awaits him after death, what dark and terrible place he will end up in. No one can escape the consequences of their actions unless they take steps to change their destiny. In Buddhist philosophy, there is believed to be no reason to worry about Mara. The key is to diligently engage in spiritual practice, and then all will be well. There is a sutra that states, "The evil Mara will not be able to reach you, will lose all interest, and will depart." The Buddha explained in detail that Mara is powerless to harm those who practice correctly, so fear of him is unjustified. His power extends exactly to the boundary we ourselves allow him.